So back in 2022, we had a report come to us on a fake investment scam going on. Ultimately, what was going on were individuals were impersonating Amazon, stating that they were hiring people to work remotely, and that all they had to do was sign on to their platform and complete a series of tasks. And there were about 40 tasks that they had to complete, and the tasks basically consisted of a review for a product coming in. They had to click accept, and then forwarded it off, a second click, and that was completing the task. You completed 40 of those, and you got your commission for the day. What was ultimately told to them was that each one had a different dollar value, and that they earned a set fee off of that. And of course, as they went through the queue of each task, the dollar amount got higher and higher and higher, to the point that they said, well, in order to complete these tasks and actually get your payout, you have to invest into the platform to do it. So people would send in an initial investment and say, okay, this is what I can do. Say we'll go with a ballpark of $1,000 for an example. They get the payout instructions from the individuals running the platform. They send in their money. They go through the tasks and they want to test the platform to see if it's legitimate and say, okay, well, I've completed my task, I want my payout. And so they would go through, they would accept the payout, and the suspects would actually send a payout to them. And this validates that, okay, the platform actually exists. So they start investing more in order to go through more tasks every single day, because the more tasks they complete, the more commission they earn. And they just keep investing more and more, thinking it's now legitimate. The problem is, now that they're on that second hook and they're going through and investing more and more, by the time they say, oh, well, I need to get my payout, they go to do it, and the suspects say, well, there's a problem with the processing fee. You need to pay the commission up front. You need to pay taxes on this, all these types of things. And so what happens at that point, they just get stuck in an endless loop of these fees and excuses, and ultimately they never get their money back. And what ultimately had happened in the first place when they got the payout is the suspects are actually getting victim A to send money to victim B, because victim A thinks they're investing in the platform originally, but what they're actually doing is they're paying victim B to entice victim B to invest more in the platform, so that the suspects can further insulate themselves ultimately. And once they run the platform for a certain amount of time, they get as much money as they can, then one of two things happens. Either A, the platform shuts down because it gets reported by various people as being a scam, and or the suspects decide to leave the country and go somewhere else and move on to another scam. What we found in this case was it was a collection of 5 individuals operating originally from Fujian, China, that had come into Canada, into Vancouver area, and were ultimately running the scam. They had set up a website, they had set up a hosting domain, they had set up an entire network in order to feed payments through so that they could launder the funds from individuals that they had recruited, individuals that they had convinced to actually allow these funds to move through their bank accounts unknowingly, and ultimately funnel it into either personal accounts to be shipped and wire transferred into China, or moved into cryptocurrency accounts and then moved into China from there. So.
As far as like online scams go, how sophisticated was this?
Very sophisticated. When you consider that this scam was reported to us in 2022, the scam itself had lasted for approximately 3 months. They used it as a test bed in order to launch an identical scam afterwards. Within that short amount of time, Canada-wide, they were able to pull in what we estimate about $1.1 million. Now, they had to set up everything from the websites to all the payment systems, et cetera, that they were doing. A lot of back-end moving pieces, and much more complicated than one person could actually handle. And in order to get all of the data necessary, when we're dealing with bank records, we're dealing with data records from hosting services, things like that, then for us to be able to investigate it, you're looking at well over a year to figure out who all's actually involved. So the scams themselves are extremely complex. They manipulate everything, and everything down to all the graphics to convince the actual victim that what they're doing is legitimate. They craft everything down to the minute detail to see that, oh, well, they're actually working on a legitimate platform. They're actually working for Amazon. They have chat systems set up for troubleshooting for payments or troubleshooting the platforms. They'll have not just on the platform itself, but actually on, say, an external communication app, in this case, WhatsApp. In other cases, Telegram can be used, things like that. So it's very, very sophisticated as far as how they do it. A lot of moving pieces and a lot of networking involved. So these guys actually take quite a bit of time to put into these.
Was there a specific part of the scam that kind of started tipping people off that this wasn't legit?
Ultimately, the only thing that really tipped people off that this wasn't legit at all was when they started giving these compound excuses for not paying them out. They would impersonate CRA, saying, okay, well, you're going to have to pay us taxes, otherwise, we're going to pursue legal action. They would threaten to have people arrested. They would threaten that, well, you're actually going to owe all these pieces, these components and fines, otherwise we may send police after you. They would give all these threats, and in most cases people would take a good while to actually understand that what was going on was a scam, but that's what really tipped people off, was just the constant excuse and compound fees and whatnot that they were going to have to pay in order to get their money back. It took a while in this case because most of our victims involved are, or at the time were, newcomers to Canada. So they weren't very familiar with how the CRA works, how banking institutions work as far as repayment of investments, things like that. And so it took a little bit of time on that for them to actually realize it and report it.
Was any of the money able to be recovered?
Yes, we were successful in recovering about $200,000 in restitution, and currently there is a court case going on in BC Civil Court for civil forfeiture on a residence in BC.
So that's over the entire, we mentioned the 1.1 or so million across the country?
Yes.
Okay.
And how many people in total were involved, like victims?
Victims, it's an estimate because ultimately we weren't able to confirm 100%, but just looking from the financial data and the transactions coming in, I'd estimate about 300.
300 people across Canada?
Yes.
How many Edmontonians?
Edmontonians, I was able to confirm 35.
And they were all victims of the same group based in Vancouver?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
You said this started in, I think you said 2022. Like, what was kind of it's been 3 years basically for the investigation.
Mm-hmm.
What's taking so long to kind of come forward and let
Yep.
people know about this?
Yep, that's a good question. So we had to wait on a number of factors. One, our primary suspect had fled Canada before this investigation ever got off the ground. By the time we got enough information from complainants to start writing warrants for data, things like that, that individual was already off and back to China. So we had to take things very carefully because ultimately, if there was an opportunity for that individual to come back to Canada, we wanted to make sure that we didn't burn that bridge and defeat that possibility. And the second point was just sorting through the data. This entire file was myself and at times working with a financial crimes analyst. But just the two of us pouring between some of the data took quite a bit of time. We, at the time, were dealing with 12 different bank accounts over the period of about, looking for financial data, about a year and a half. Those bank accounts, as well as communication records, website hosting records, all of that took a good while, probably about 4,000 pages worth of data, so it was exhaustive. But at the end of the day, once warrants were finally out, the last warrants went out on that in November of 2024. and then just waiting on some of the stuff to catch up for the court system to be able to actually come and talk about it.
And the release mentioned 3 local people have been charged. Are they in the country and able to be prosecuted?
Yes, they're in BC. We issued the warrants, had those extended into BC, and had them arrested and charged.
What should people, I mean, you mentioned this one in particular was fairly sophisticated. What should people be looking for before you get to the point where you're losing money?
Excellent question. So one of the biggest things that people can actually look for and to really understand is that jobs are not going to come to you and say, hey, we're going to offer you a job, and I'm just going to let you chat with our HR manager over WhatsApp or over Telegram. One red flag right there. If you can't talk to them in person, you can't talk to them over the phone, over Zoom, things like that, that's a red flag. 2, if they say, well, you're going to have this job, you do this investment, and it's guaranteed investment return. Anytime someone uses the term guaranteed, the investment is fake, period. There is no guarantee on investment. No legitimate company, whether it's Amazon or whether it's a cryptocurrency exchange or any type of company, they are not going to be able to guarantee an investment. It sets them up on too much liability. So if someone ever hears that term, run away. It's a red flag. That is a scam. If they tell you that you just need to work about 20 minutes a day and you're going to earn $2,000 for that day, stop and think about it. It's the old adage that if it looks too good to be true, it probably is. Same goes with scams. Because what these scammers do is they prey on 2 things. One is a sense of wanting. A lot of people call it greed. I call it need. Because especially in today's economy, people need funds. Groceries are going up, housing is going up, things like that. It's not about greed. It's about wanting to survive. And these scammers will prey on that because they know people need money. And if they give it an idea of an easy money, easy return, well, they just prey off of it, and they constantly manipulate people. The other thing is a sense of urgency. They prey on the fear factor. So you need to jump on this job, you need to do this investment, you got to do it by the end of the day, because if you don't, the opportunity's lost. Well, if it's a real opportunity, it can wait 12 hours, 24 hours. Go talk to a friend. Come to talk to one of us. Come to talk to one of our members of the division. Say, hey, is this a scam? That's okay. Because at the end of the day, if you can't wait on something, it's probably a scam. So sense of fear, sense of urgency, and that just sense of need.
You mentioned just now, reaching out to EPS if you think it's too good to be true. I mean, is that at the local divisions, or is there a specific place where they should reach out?
Yeah, honestly, the easiest way is some of the divisions, because some of these scams, they're very good. These guys are master manipulators. It's what they do for a living. The reason that they're able to pull people in and convince them to invest these funds is not because people are ignorant, because people are unintelligent. It's because these guys are good at what they do and they're master manipulators. So the best case to do is come in to a division, talk to a member there, and show them what it is, and let the member help you understand that it's a scam. If you want to call in, you're more than welcome to. Our non-emergency line can help with that, but ultimately your best source is going to be in person. The other source of information that people can also do is talk to the CAFC. They can contact the Canadian Anti-Fraud Center and speak with them. They are amazing at what they do, and they can help people work through things and understand things a little bit better.
You mentioned that the scammers were kind of using Amazon's name and brand recognition to give people false sense of security. Did Amazon assist at all with this investigation?
Oh, yes. Very much so. So early on in the investigation, the way a lot of the complainants were talking, it sounded like the individuals involved might have been using what we call drop ship sites. So drop ship is where people can order something online, or a seller will just offer something online and they just ship it to just random individuals in order to bolster reviews, bolster sales, things like that. It's for showing it on the shop. When in reality, the shop is just set there as a front. So we needed to know from Amazon, is this legitimate? How do your services work? How does this platform work? Is there any possibility? And so we actually spoke with them, and they were very quick to respond. They had their entire team working on it and actually gave us a package to be able to compare with some of the information we had to confirm whether or not these sites were legitimate. They were with us from start all the way to finish, to the point that we were able to speak with several of their representatives in person and start working through things.